Hi, everyone. Good to be back in Istanbul, and more specifically today in a video gaming conference. Actually, it's true, like, I've been 10 years in the video game industry. I've been living through almost every single event there and working, craving, finding ways to grow our audience, to acquire users, to build like the core loop, the meta gameplay, the retention mechanics. And now that it's been almost 4 years that we built Sandbox as a metaverse, it's great to reconnect with the industry even more and see how we can build those bridges for existing game studios to enter the metaverse more specifically. And seeing how vibrant is the gaming industry here, it's quite exciting, and I'm looking forward to have a lot of Turkish studio more specifically to be onboarded. So waiting for the slides, maybe some of you might have seen that the origin of Sandbox was it was a mobile game originally. Like, we wanted to empower players to become creators using like touchscreen. So basically, just by the touch of their finger, they could drop like pixelated elements, first from the periodic table of elements, and then afterwards we kept on adding via updates. I think we made over 68 updates of Sandbox on mobile by then. More and more gaming-related elements, so people could play at their characters, their heroes, their enemies, their platforms, their traps, and so on, and share all those creations in an online gallery where other users could enjoy them. We also had quite some fun when we involved first brands back in it. I remember Invincible, I remember Shrek. We also had Pac-Man in it, and every time we made a new update, we were focusing on like how do we add new game mechanics so people could use them and create games, even more fun games with them. Yet there was somehow a frustration. Even though the game was pretty successful, we had 40 million installs, 70 million creation made by users over time. I had a frustration that our most engaged creators, people who were very passionate about like what they were making using Sandbox, over time, maybe not a week or like, but more months or years, they were kind of quitting the game. Even we were featuring them, we were driving a lot of social fame through their profile. We were not able to retain them over a long time. And what we found is that it was because essentially we had no way to share some revenue that they generated by spending time and building the content with us in the gallery. So we looked up for a solution, how we can share some revenue and so on. And well, as far as I know, and even today, it's not possible on the App Store or Google Play Store to send a portion of your revenue or in-app purchase back to a player as some sort of like referral or commission base. And so there was no scalable way to enable like rewarding those creators. We had to look for their nickname, try to contact them by email, and then find a way to send them like a payment and so on. Like, not scalable. You can do that maybe 1, 2, 10 people, but not 100 or thousands. So we were kind of frustrated by this situation. And in 2017, as I was playing around new technology once again, exploring blockchain, I found about a game called blockchain CryptoKitties that use NFTs. And CryptoKitties was honestly nothing special as a game, like just like breeding virtual cats. Nothing original about that gameplay. But there was two things that really struck me about it. Like, the first is like you actually bought the cats not from the developer, but from other players. Like, for the first time, like, there's a mobile game where I buy the content from other users instead of like the developer, which is in-game shop. And the second thing that struck me also was that you don't buy those items, those cats, on the game itself, but you go to an external website, some sort of like eBay of virtual game items called OpenSea, and you buy those from other players on OpenSea. The technology that was used behind was called NFTs, and that's at that moment that I realized like, oh, like people can make NFTs, they can earn a revenue by selling them the way they want on the marketplace. So why don't we enable anyone to make their own NFTs and use them with a game maker, a place where they could actually share their creation again and earn a revenue from it? And that was the idea that drove us into like, let's create a new version of Sandbox, this time as a multiplayer, multi-platform, 3D virtual world, where like all the content will be made by the users and the users will directly benefit from that. Fast forward, we are today in 2022, and now that I have slides, it's a great transition. We've been working for close to 4 years now as turning the Sandbox mobile game into a full platform that started on PC first, the Mac, and will be coming to mobile again next year. And that platform has different tools, like a 3D editor called VoxEdit, a marketplace, a map, a game maker, and a game player. And today I'd like to show you a little bit more, like explain our vision, our approach, and how we are trying to attract more and more studios and creators to participate into building the content on this new platform and how they can benefit from such opportunities. So we see, whoops, sorry, a little bit too fast. Yeah, very sensible. We see the metaverse. I think probably you've, as gamers, you're very familiar with MMORPGs and virtual worlds. Who in the room has already played Second Life? All right. World of Warcraft, maybe? Okay. Fortnite? A little bit more. Okay. Roblox? All right. So basically, those are like virtual worlds, social, where you can do various activities with other players. The big difference, like with those virtual worlds that are so-called metaverse, is like all the content you buy there or you earn as a player, it doesn't really belong to you. Why? You spent real money to buy those Roblox, to buy the in-app purchase. But what can you do with it? You can only use that content within the game, how the creator imagined it. If you try to send it to another user, there's no way. If you try to take it outside of the game, you have to, it's very complex. You have to share the account. You cannot sell the content directly on a marketplace and so on. So the idea of the metaverse is really this myriad of virtual worlds where all the content that will be created by the users or earned by the users actually really belong to them. They can take them outside of the platform of the game wherever they want. They can use it however they want, even outside of the place where they were created. It can be sold and monetized and so on. And so you access the metaverse with an avatar that becomes this new 3D representation of yourself. And through that avatar also, like, that is the same character that we keep as we access all those different kind of games or virtual hubs, social club, and other social and more fun experiences. At the beginning, you still have to build it all. Like it's pretty empty. Like it's a new platform that launched, doesn't have a lot of content. So we believe that it will be built by the users themselves, and then in the future by studios and more professionals. So that's why we provide like UGC creation tools, VoxEdit, which is like a 3D editor. Think of it like playing voxels, 3D pixels. You can play off them with like digital Legos. And Game Maker, no code. So it's a platform where you can build games just by drag and dropping, which enables new kind of gameplay because like there's a new type of creators who enter and start building games. In the same way that every new console, every new technological revolution, we've seen new gameplays which attracted new players. I'm thinking about like the Nintendo 3DS or the Wii U and Switch with haptic controls or the 3D or the touchscreen. And then we saw smartphones. We enable casual, hyper-casual games, VR, AR, and so on. And here, for the first time, even Roblox is a platform that attracted new gamers and new kind of gameplays. And that we cannot say today that it's not games. It's just part of the overall gaming industry and that attract a certain audience. And there are studios who are living from the business of creating on those platforms. So keeping an open mindset, the metaverse will also be a platform for studios and creators to build. And beside user-generated content, we want to add like brands. So attracting brands on the platform enables creators to take their content and use them officially branded licensed content from Ubisoft, from Gucci, from Atari, for Warner Music, can be used by the creators into their own game if they buy those NFTs and remixed to create those experiences. So in a way, we want to make like blockchain and Web3 accessible through the use of content on a platform where there are experiences where they can engage. Those content will have a real utility because they can be used as your avatar, as a game item, and so on. And because these items have a utility, they can have value, they can be sold, they can give birth to like new jobs, digital services, and even more interestingly, going into like decentralized finance. Imagine being able to rent your sword, rent your character to another player for a limited amount of time where you don't use it. Imagine being able to take a loan thanks to the character that you spent hours, days, years to grind and level up, proving that you've been a serious player, and so on. And decentralized governance, ultimately, which also will lead to like players who control and own those assets to participate in the decision, like in a democracy, of the future of how this game should evolve. The same way that instead of having only the developer that takes all the decision for everyone. So here are some of those brands that we are already present in Sandbox, more than 400 brands from all around the world in entertainment. You have in music with Warner Music, with SM Entertainment, in fashion and lifestyle with Adidas, with Gucci, but also like existing game studios. Some of them I'm sure you're familiar with, Ubisoft, Atari, Square Enix, some studios from Korea, Shift Up, for example. And we're looking to bring even more as we approach all the different regional market of video games in Korea, in Hong Kong, and today here in Turkey. We also bring like very popular entertainment brand like Walking Dead, Smurf, Care Bears, Rabbits, so you can have like fun content that you can use to build your games very creatively. Whoops. And the one thing that brands do when they enter Sandbox, and Sandbox as a platform has a limited number of lands. So the way you discover the content in Sandbox is through a map. That map has, we're a virtual world. So as a gamer, you're familiar with the concept of map. Instead of having an app store with different galleries and hype icons, you enter it through lands. So lands becomes a new way for discovery. There is a limited number of lands in Sandbox, 166, 164 in total, meaning that unlike App Store, Steam, and so on, we will not have an infinite treadmill of content. Your content will not be lost around like 1 million new apps a day. Basically, once you own a land, it's your digital space of real estate where the content you own can be published and accessed by users with their avatars. And what makes it unique, it's being part of a neighborhood. So when you are in a neighborhood, not only people can visit your land, but as they walk through the edges of that land, they enter your neighbor. So meaning you can co-create with your neighbors bigger experiences. You're no longer alone, isolated. You're part of like creating a zone on the map that is vibrant and can mix different gameplays or different style, music and sport, gaming and fashion and so on. And we are already seeing actually much more than games on those lands that they're built by those brands and the creator on the platform, like social hub, dance club, concert, virtual housing, tourism as well, with monument and landmark, art galleries, museum, education, workstation, fashion, and of course various gameplay, single player and multiplayer, treasure hunt, RPG fight, platformer, etc. We are making it, again, like the accessibility of the tools is essential. So we work hard on our game maker and VoxEdit to keep improving them. So we enlarge the creative possibilities for you to make more and more fun games. As you can see, it's all drag and drop, so it's pretty intuitive. We've seen people who tried it being able to create games within a month that are pretty exciting. And we've launched many game jams, hackathons, video game competition with prizes to reward the people who are like curious enough to give it a try. All right. So all of that creativity will be leading to the creation of new jobs. Like in the video game industry, we have game designers, level designers. You also will have like house designer, architect, fashion designers, like launching collection of avatars that can be used across all the games instead of just one, can be and is a new business model and a job. We're also seeing a lot of jobs related to like discovery, content discovery, curators of lands, content, but also animators and hosts in the games. So we want every experience to be unique, personalized, meaning like when you enter it, just like when I entered the room for the conference, someone guide me, give me the lanyard and took me to this room. In virtual world, someone will accompany you in your land to tour it and more. We're also seeing like virtual real estate agent, ticket resellers, event organizers, and the fun part, actually being a player. We've all played those games, earned some coins, earned some items as we pass the level one, the tutorial, and so on. Until today, all those content, they were virtual items. We couldn't own them, we couldn't resell them. But imagine that now all of that content actually is a token on a blockchain. It's on your wallet. You decide what you want to do. You actually can sell it. And if you sell progressively more and more of those items, you can derive a revenue that could be turning into like a salary at some point if you're good enough for that, meaning like your next job can be player. We also understand like the growth of the ecosystem as a platform is no longer just user acquisition growth, but essentially growth of like the studios who will decide to come on this platform to build the experiences. We drive the brands, more than 400 brands. We drive the landowners, more than 323,000 landowners who are looking for creative, talented builders to make their experiences. So that is a source of revenue for them. And actually, those studios, at the beginning of the year, we're about 10 studios. Today, with 230 studios, they have more than 6 months wait time before like they have resource available to take project. And most of them, they earn $1 million plus a year in charging those companies for services, content, and after live ops and so on. And also, you can also launch your own game, be one of the first next indie super success. Think about it, like every new platform introduce like new leaders. The App Store, we've seen like Rovio initially, and then Supercell came in and so on. I don't know yet who will be the leader in the content creation in Sandbox, but I'm sure there will be one. So in the same way that Roblox or the App Store, Sandbox will have its leading studio someday. One more thing about the avatar, which I think interesting, like the avatar is really that 3D representation of yourself. It's your new digital identity. And you have each one of those avatars as a unique NFT. You can create that avatar directly in Sandbox, but more interestingly, we also enable playing with external avatars into Sandbox. So having a character from your own game can come and become a character in Sandbox that instead of doing the core loop of your original gameplay, suddenly become your social, so you can dance, you can chat with other users. We become the social place for your game. We've seen, I don't know how many of you own NFTs in the room, by the way. A few of you, all right. Well, maybe you own one of those 20 collection of NFTs, like Meebit, Rumblecon, Getfellas, Moonbird, Bored Ape, Clonex, Cool Cat, World of Women, or others. We're working to bring more and more of those collections as playable 3D characters, animated, who can jump, run, fight, and so on. And it's pretty fun for the community, for those communities to hang out together and do various activities. Wait. All right. It's a bit sensitive. I'm kind of lost. It goes back, it goes first. Wait. Stop. Go back. All right. Here. All right. Someone, thank you. So something that we've done that I've been really engaging a lot of brands as well has been game jams. Like game jam is a way to introduce content creation to both individual and non-professional, and seeing like being able to enter a game jam where you can make a game for Atari, for Care Bears, for The Walking Dead is pretty cool. And I think it's also a new way for you to get your talent discovered, to find like before like a publishing deal, because those brands, they need experience on their land. So they will pick up from the best of the game jam to engage with the creators. There was one slide before as well. If we can put it on the, yeah, thank you. So some recommendation at the moment, I still insist, like this is pretty early on in building the metaverse. So let's be creative, let's innovate, let's do things that we wouldn't find on other platforms. Why would people want to try the metaverse with their avatar? Is because they are going to find original stuff that they cannot find yet on the platform. So my recommendation to brands and game studio is don't try just to port what you already have somewhere else. Won't work. Not only won't work, but will be less good than what you have something somewhere else. So see more like what are the core value of and core possibilities of the platform around socialization, around user-generated content, like engaging your fans, your players to create with you using your characters, your IPs. Those are massively important things. And finally, like the first and 2 points on my 5 recommendation, like rewarding the fans who are going to engage creating or spending time in those social hub, and giving them value, like doing things that they couldn't do in your game. So imagine your game as like a very popular building or very popular hero. You didn't want to do like whole full game, but to say, oh, I can create that building as a social hub and I can chat with my community and so on now. Well, a lot of things are easy to do in Sandbox and valuable, and they keep spending time with you, even if they are not inside the game. And I think that's also one value proposition that the metaverse can offer to game studios and brand owners. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. Thank you. And so there's some example of like gamified experience we've launched. One, for example, with Gucci, it's been like a digital art hub where like we exposed, it's a multifaceted, very colorful experience inspired by the DNA of Gucci from Alessandro Michele and the master artisan who shaped this brand for 100 years. It's also an educative game where you like progress and learn more. There's some arcadey components with this like motorbike racing game. And there is also like treasure hunts where like you walk along 100 of other users inside, find like hidden boxes, and at some point potentially earn extra rewards. Next slide. Yes, here is like a more of Halloween special event with Paris Hilton, where like you could dance with other fans into this land called Around the Manor's Living Town. It was very funky and crazy, like her whole universe. And it was the most popular experience. Like people really enjoyed seeing each other costume, listening to exclusive music, and enjoying a special place with their favorite celebrity. Rabbits, I think that's pretty fun as well. Like the way the rabbits have invaded Sandbox is, well, pretty much like everything they do, they break. So they broke Sandbox basically. And not only they had their social hub, but essentially every other experience of the map was altered through being broken. And so it gave a reason for players to come back to find the rabbits that's been like kind of scattered around and to rebuild those. Warner Music, they created a very interesting musical theme park with various attractions, with different music genre as you move around, and also like one full game promoting one of the artists called Sueco, which like went through like his past musical history and rewarded players as they completed quests, trying to solve some challenge so the concert could ultimately play. And well, even banking, that might be surprising, but yes, banks, finance, other enterprise brands have found ways to offer experiences for their users in the form of like social events and the mini games that takes you to explore like the stadium behind the scenes, find some characters, complete quests, and earn rewards through that. So in a way, like Sandbox is also a gamified marketing platform, and I know like gamified marketing is also part of the gaming industry in general and attracting broader audiences. And yep, that's it for this talk. I wanted to also keep some time for more Q&A, direct question with you. So if you haven't tried yet Sandbox, it's very easy. Just create your avatar, start exploring some of those experiences. We also have the Turkish team who is present today. So Arslan is our head of growth in Turkey, in helping to onboard studios who are interested to build for Sandbox. Thank you.
One, two. What's the next plans for season 4?
Well, so someone who knows and follows Sandbox, thank you. So far, Sandbox platform is still in beta. It hasn't fully opened to the public. So the way we found to prepare this was to introduce season period of 1 month or 2 months, where we curated a lot of experiences made by the community or brands to be accessible to players to try, engage, and be inspired. Next year, actually, we have more options for people to come and play Sandbox. The platform will be fully open through events, through planned publishing. So season 4 is probably more around Q2 and will be smaller than this one because there will be more content available already.
So my question would be related to the corporates. How did you combine the fun element with the corporate application or corporate, a company with a corporate background, and how do you see the potential?
So back to my 5 points. The first thing, like, do not try to bring the corporate in the same way that they exist in the real world. There's no reason for them to do so. It's going to be non-fun. Like, we don't have like enterprise come into metaverse to just offer the same business as they do in the real world. Again, the metaverse is a place that needs to inspire, to offer like a new type of entertainment, avatar-based, multiplayer. So we work with those brands, those corporate, to inspire them and tell like, this is a chance for you to be more creative, to reinvent yourself. How do you approach Gen Z? What do you want to offer to those users who are not maybe your consumer in the real world, and you want to change their perspective about like who you are and who you will be in the next 10 years. And so we engage creatively with them. We think if they have like specific characters, location, content, the history of the brand somehow that can be turned and either in an educative way or through like sponsorship or partnership that they do in the real world. Are they supporting some charities? Are they supporting some sport event or social event? And we usually recommend them to go through those ways, those angles, to start being present in the metaverse.
Thank you so much. So what's the background of your current studios who are developing games for you? Like, are they Flash game developers or indie PC game developers, or they mobile game developers who decide to switch?
So we have a great mix. We have, first of all, a lot of like new talent that never did any video game before. So that's back to my idea that every new platform is attracting both new creators and new audience. That's what we're seeing with Sandbox. Like, they tried Game Maker on their own and they became pretty good at it and they offered new experiences. We also try and work to bring existing game studios who are looking at alternative ways also to launch content without the complexity of like publishing, user acquisition, or having to have developers to iterate rapidly over concepts. So that's the second category, more professional, already established video game developers. What we see, to be fully transparent, is two kinds of feedback. One, like some of those studios, because they've been so used for many years to work with Unreal, with Unity, with 3D Studio Max, etc., they don't have really that flexibility to adapt to a new environment. They say, what do I do with my existing skill and people, etc.? They don't want to learn a new environment. So this is hard, and we can wait for that category of studio to come later. And there are the more nimble one who are ready to, okay, let's experiment, let's make a hackathon this weekend, let's try what we can do with it. If we like it or not, maybe try it. Like trying it will really not cost you anything. And maybe your whole team will say, I hate it so bad, I don't want to work with that. Fine. Or they say, well, it's cool, we can be inspired, maybe we can do something. And that's the right moment where you feel like, oh, we should look at it more closely. That's kind of what we felt so far with the studios on the platform. We do. That's a great segue, actually. So we launched the Game Maker Fund, supported by our foundation. We've been supporting a lot of innovation, experimental projects. So you can apply by having a simple pitch to us. What's your idea? And we will grant you a fund to build it as well. You can also talk with Arslan here if you're based directly in Turkey as a way to enter it. Thank you.
As being someone from the blockchain gaming industry, I'm curious, how did the collapse of FTX affect the Sandbox project?
So for context, crypto is a very volatile market. It goes through cycles that we call like winter and summer. Right now, we're more, in general, in crypto and in the overall tech industry, we're more in like a recession, I would say. And there's been a series of events recently with about the third exchange that collapsed because of like mismanagement and to say the least. We are not affected. We don't own any FTX token, FTT. Sandbox keeps growing in terms of players, in terms of like studios on the platform, in terms of landowners, and we have more than 4 million users with a wallet, 230 studios building. So we just keep advancing on our roadmap, and that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you, if you are so confident in your game engine that creates all those experiences, Sandbox, what do you think will make average gamer that plays normal games to convert to metaverse games? And do you think that your engine and system that is capable, is it capable of creating any kind of game that normal player can quit playing normal games and just start playing on your metaverse? And why would they switch, for example, from playing God of War to playing in your game? What do you think about that?
It's a very good question. And at the end of the day, like the creative capability are limited to the creation tools behind. We've been building the Game Maker for 4 years, so it's still very early. Like it doesn't have all the features that we want to have to enable any kind of gameplay. So there is a core set of features around RPG mechanics like quest, platforming, fighting, a core social feature, and a multiplayer gameplay that we think is essential to get started. Now, it will take still some years of development to keep updating that Game Maker, and we do so every 3 months with new release and new features, so that we will make possible to do any kind of gameplay and to be on the same level as, for example, the Roblox editor or the Fortnite creative mode and so on, which started 14 years ago. So still a bit of time to catch up. I don't have any pretension that we're doing better games, and actually, very often what I say is like you should know your weaknesses and you should know your strengths. We know our strengths around socialization, around like easy to create. Our weaknesses are around like maybe the lack of certain gameplay mechanics and depth of gameplay. And our goal is not to compete or steal players from other platforms. Like they will still exist, they will still grow on their side. It's to offer new type of experiences that could attract users for the brands, for the socialization, for the rewards, and so on. That's it. Cool. Thank you so much for this time and all those questions.